Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Brajanarandan Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajanaranjana Jaya Brajanaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihiyadi Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihiyadi Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihiyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihiyadi Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihiyadi Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privratakacharya Svami Gracial A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privratakacharya Svami Gracial Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ki Jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnavani Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Charles Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories and lotus, all goodies and lotus, all goodies and lotus, all glories to Shri Gun Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityo Naram Chava Narottamam Devam Saratim Vyasam Tatu Jayamudirayat. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 16, Text 21. Asmai Ripala Kila Tatra Tatra Balim Harisyanti Saloka Palaha Mamshanta Esham Striya Adi Rajam Chakrayudam Tat Yasha Udarantya Asmain Ripala Kila Tatra Tatra Balim Harisyanti Saloka Palaha Mamshanta Esham Striya Adi Rajam Chakrayudam Tadyasha Uttarayat Asmain Ripala Kila Tatra Tatra Balim Harisyanti Saloka Palaha Mam Shyanta Yesham Striya Adirajam Chakra Yudam Tadyasha Uttarantyaha Asmai Trinidpala Kila Tatra Tatra Balim Harishyanti Saloka Palaha Mam Shyanta Yesham Striya Adirajam Chakra Yudam Yadasha Uttaranyaha Yantra Tipala Kapsyanta Yesham Striya Adirajam Sakra Yudam Yadyasha Uttaranyaha Asme Tripala Kila Tatra Tatra Palim Harishyanti Saloka Palaha Mapsyanta Yesham Striya Adirajam Chakra Yudam Yadyasha Uttarayaha Maitri Pala Kila Tatra Tatra Balim Karishyanti Saloka Palaha Apsyanta Yesham Striya Hadirajan Pala Titra Palim Harishyanti Palaha Apsyanta Yesham Striya Hadirajan Vaishnavis Asmai Tripala Kila Tatra Tatra Pala Apsyanta Yesham Striya Hadirajam Rayudam Yadasha Uttayantyaha Asmai unto him Ripalaha all the kings Hila certainly Tatra Tatra here and there Balim presentations Hadishyanti will offer Sa with Lokapalaha the demigods Mamshanti will consider Esham of these kings Striyaha wives Adirajam the original king Chakra Ayudam bearing the disc weapon Pat his Yasha reputation Udarayantyaha carrying on. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. When the king travels all over the world
Other kings, as well as the demigods, will offer him all kinds of presentations. Their queens will also consider him the original king, who carries in his hands the emblems of the club and disc, and will sing of his fame. For he will be as reputable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. When the king travels all over the world, other kings as well as the demigods will offer him all kinds of presentations. Their queens will also consider him the original king, who carries in his hands the emblems of the club and disc, and will sing of his fame. For he will be as reputable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As far as reputation is concerned, King Prithu is already known as the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Adi Rajam means the original king. The original king is Narayan, or Lord Vishnu. People do not know that the original king, or Narayan, is actually the protector of all living entities. As confirmed in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Vedati Kaman, Kata Upanishad 2:13. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is maintaining all living entities. The king, or Naradadev, is his representative. As such, the king's duty is to personally supervise the distribution of wealth for the maintenance of all living entities. If he does so, he will be as reputable as Narayan. As mentioned in this verse, Tad Yashaha, Prithu Maharaj was actually carrying with him the reputation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he was actually reigning over the world in that capacity. Translation once again. When the king travels all over the world, other kings as well as the demigods will offer him all kinds of presentations. Their kings will also consider him the original king, who carries in his hands the emblems of the club and disc, and will sing of his fame, for he will be as reputable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oma Jnana Timirandasya Janandana Salakaya Chakshuram Baditam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sandubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lagaitim Yerakipahamatamam Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Paramadhamadhamam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram. Well, it's good to be home here in New Delhi. The devotees of Shishi Radha Parthasarthi. Amazing crew. In Srila Prabhupada's books, his purports, we always see these what is called in military terminology depth charges. You know what depth charge is? ocean when there's some submarine and you have some naval ship, like a destroyer, that they will throw these depth charges over into the ocean to destroy the enemy. So the Prabhupada has different depth charges within his transcendental purports, which are very, very powerful, that kind of describe how to alleviate the living entity from material identification. So this purport, Srila Prabhupada is describing very nicely the process of how to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this purport is describing how Maharaj Prithu, he was the most incarnation of the Supreme, a Narada Dev, small n. Narada Dev, big N, means Narayan. So throughout Vedic culture, we see how the kings, the Rajas, they would actually arrange their kingdom to give protection to the citizens, to give nourishment to the citizens, to give spiritual guidance to the citizens. Like Srila Prabhupada was saying yesterday in class when he was discussing about the Ajamil, how the Vishnu Dutas stopping the Yamadutas. And Prabhupada within his class described how in the modern age in India, there is an Aryan civilization, but it's not like the past. That ultimately it's a perverted reflection, but the culture is still there. And Prabhupada was underlining the point that ultimately the devotee of the Lord has to be understood in relationship to the Supreme Lord. Here we're learning about how the king, the Raj, is understood. He is worshipped in respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, in our present age, of course, by the arrangement of Sankirtan movement, we are getting a few politicians nowadays with some brain for Vedic culture. And that's a good sign in various degrees, but mostly there is some difficulty. And the Bhagavatam describes in the age of Kali how the kings or the so-called rulers will try and manipulate the citizens through various taxes, through various manipulations. But ultimately, the king should be a representative of the Supreme Lord. Now, look in our situation. I mean, we don't really see persons of the stature of Maharaj Prithu, an incarnation, a representative of the Supreme Lord. We do not see personalities that can be worshipped in such a level, but we are most fortunate because we do have such personalities, such as His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. We have full access to such personalities who are representing the Supreme Lord. So this is a very wonderful example that we can learn from. And in relationship to such a person, you have various acharyas who are following the process of bhakti as presented by the acharyas. Evam parampara praptam. We are given a parampara of personalities. Because when we read these depth charges within Srila Prabhupada's books, we have to understand not to put these descriptions on a pedestal. You know what I mean by pedestal? To put them in a very high place and to be looked at in just reverence. You see, the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam are being daily written by the extension of the Sankirtan movement. If you look on the heavenly planets, the Bhagavatam has an unlimited field while the Bhagavatam that we have presented has a limited. It is like a synopsis of the true Bhagavatam philosophy. So in this way, we should always see how the process we are following, we are becoming part of a spiritual history. In other words, we're reading about Prithu Maharaj, an empowered incarnation of the Supreme Lord, a person who is worshipped on the topmost level. And we see various kings like Ambarish Maharaj, who are also worshipped on the topmost level. And such persons were pure devotees of the Lord. They were fully absorbed in service to the Lord. They gave up all sense of proprietorship. Now, unfortunately, in spiritual circles, we see within the different sampradayas, we see within various aspiring devotees, different levels of purity, different levels of empowerment. And what makes a pure devotee? Of course, Prabhupada said, how many devotees are in my movement? You can't condemn a dirty man who's in the shower. A mango is a mango. Whether it's unripe, if you're following the process, you are coming into the ripe stage. So in this way, we can study what is the real devotee of the Lord? Who is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? That is someone who is completely free from all sense of proprietorship. Aham. Anything based in terms of I and mine. That's how you can see Samahatma Sadurlabha. So it's interesting in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, text 2, Lord Brahma makes a description, Asyapi Deva Upasya. He gives glorification to the Supreme Lord, where he says that your incarnation, Jai Shishi Radha Parthasarthi Leta Vishaka Ki Jai, Shishi Gauri Tai Ki Jai, Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. That he gives a description and glorification. He says that your incarnation has unlimited power. And within that power, there's a distribution of real mercy which you have given me. But actually, the reason for your incarnation is to give mercy to your pure devotees. You come because of your devotees. All this demon killing is byproduct. All this exercises. So he can relate, so he can develop a relationship with his devotees. So in this way, we see that the Bhagavatam glorifies the power of these incarnations. Now the demigods in the 10th canto, it says 2nd chapter, 31st verse. The demigods themselves, they start glorifying Super Soul. And they say that actually your form has great effulgence, has great power. But actually, because of your presence in the lives of your devotees, they are all going back home, back to Godhead. But how is it that they conquer Maya? Is it through yoga? No. Is it through jnana? No. What is it that makes a devotee conquer over the material energy? It is the prema in their heart. That is actually the process. So the pure devotee, or the representative of the Supreme Lord, whether you are a Raj, a great king, or you may be a Maharaj. Of course, Maharaj refers to one is actually who is serving the Supreme Lord with mind, body, and words. So in this way, we study the quality of a pure devotee. Now remember my earlier point in the class describing, don't place the descriptions of the Bhagavatam just on a pedestal. Similarly, do not look at the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada and like the acharyas, many of the acharyas in ISKCON, or the aspiring, learning, the green mangoes. Don't judge them in terms of in a mechanical way that, oh, that is them, but what about me? You follow the process, you put the rod in the fire, you become like the fire. That is the process. So the pure devotees, what they do is they don't leave the jivas alone. They just go back to Godhead. That's not our philosophy, to go back to Godhead. Our philosophy is to bring others with us. In other words, to become part of Krishna's plan to actually, this is the purpose of this material world, to re-educate people, to promote them back to the spiritual plane of existence. So when we look at a pure devotee, we serve that pure devotee. Yad yad acharati shreshta. They are teaching by example. So we follow that example. But we don't approach Guru directly. Go Vipavata Kamalor, Dasa Das, Adu Das. We become a servant of the servant of the servant. So in this way, we study the power of the devotees of the Lord. Actually, the height of our philosophy is that Bhakta is greater than God. Now, don't get me wrong here. It's not that we have, you take your biggest book distributor, okay, wow, we can offer the Bhog is going to their lordships to you, Prabhu. You are greater than God. No. Understand this. Otherwise, I'll be my last class here. Jai Maharaj. Bye, Maharaj. In the eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee is greater than him. That is why within our philosophy, the greatest fear is Vaishnava aparad, offending the devotee, offending the bhakta of the Lord. And Lord Vishnu himself says, in regards to if anyone offends, if actually I offend my devotee, I will take with my own Sudarshan chakra and cut off my own arms to give example about making it's any kind of offense. So in this way, we can study how do we really want to make advancement to understand what is a true incarnation, what is a true devotee of a Supreme Lord. Am I a devotee? If I'm reading these books, the Bhagavatam, the philosophy presented to us by Srila Prabhupada, you will see the definition of a pure devotee who is a kinchana, completely, thoroughly, materially exhausted. And as I said earlier, there's no sense of proprietorship. There's no sense of aham, mine. Everything is in relation. The devotee sees everything in terms of we. So this purport is describing and glorifying the incarnation, the queens. They are worshiping, giving such respect to Maharaj Prithu, because the incarnation represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Getting back to my earlier point, you apply the philosophy, you apply this in your everyday life. So you may be a devotee. Like I see the devotees here wearing yellow, like a transcendental bumblebees going for the nectar. Bumblebee has yellow color. But let's see, if we're looking at a simple devotee who's going out distributing Prabhupada's books, anyone who does this seva understands the science of placing yourself in the shoes of another to present the book. Now, you may understand the technique of book distribution, what to say. If he says this, you say that. But that is just like an actor on the stage. You learn the lines, but then you imbibe the role of the actor. You are a representative in parampara. So anyone who distributes books, anyone who manages, anyone who preaches will realize that Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam, Krishna's giving intelligence. I'm saying things I've never said before. If one does spiritual discourses, you will learn afterwards that you're answering questions, if your motivation is right, that people haven't asked you in class, but you're answering questions that's within their heart. Now, how is that possible? Not possible on your own merit. That is the antaryami, the Lord in the heart making arrangements. So even in our early stages of Krishna consciousness, there's an infinite degree of Shakti. There's an empowerment. Krishna Shakti Vinanai Tarpavartana. This is the process of the move. There's an empowerment there. Maharaj Pritha was an empowered personality because he represented the Supreme. Maharaj Ambarish was an empowered personality because he represented the Supreme. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada was an empowered personality because he represented the Supreme. Similarly, your Guru and you in service to Guru will be empowered personalities in relation to the Supreme. This is the power, this is the wonder of the process. So in that way, you apply the beauty that happens in devotional service, how you develop a taste for the distribution. You may be running the museum, and you're introducing yourself to new guests. You may even probably public foreign affairs, and you get intelligence of how to present devotees in such a way to the government that can actually engage them in devotional service in India. So anyways, there's so many different empowered features that are there. But never think of this principle of aham. Never think of this principle of proprietorship, I and mine, because then punar mushika bhav, again you become a mouse. You all know the story. We may develop a sense of empowerment, become lions in seva, but then if we think of aham, I and mine, any degree there, then again you become a mouse. This is the power of the process. In this way, we can appreciate where we really want to find the Lord. Now, in the Padma Purana, there's a very nice shloka. Naham vasamsi vaikunte yogina hridayanchana Mahad Bhakta Gayanti Tata Dish Naimena Narada. That the Lord himself makes it very clear. I don't live, Narayana is speaking, I don't live in Vaikuntha. I don't live in the hearts of the yogis. I am not in the hearts of those who have material attraction for me. But actually, I am where the Harinam Sankirtan is being performed, where my devotees are glorifying my name. And I seat myself in their hearts. Nam Prabhu ki. Mayapur Dham ki. Noit Manda Prikrama ki. Parthasarthi Mandaya ki. The Lord is there. And we all know the safest place in the material world is in the middle of a kirtan. So anyways, this is a very wonderful reality about the incarnations of the Supreme. Take Lord Ramachandra, for example. He took to Lanka. He used so many monkey soldiers to build a bridge to Lanka. And so in this way, he was delivered. Of course, Hanuman was a bit anxiety. He wanted to make an offering. Giri Govardhan. But that's a whole later pastime, how he wanted to be used as part of the bridge to Lanka. And he missed out. So then he was all lamenting. But then he was about to curse Hanuman. You did not bring me in time. Hanuman he's about to Giriraji, about to curse Hanuman. And then Lord Ramachandra said, "Don't worry, I will lift you. I will stand in you. I'll have you pastimes upon you in my next incarnation as Lord Krishna." So in this way, we want to really study about the power of the Lord and His majesty, how He deals with His devotees, how He reveals Himself through His devotees. For you to understand what is a real incarnation, what is a real representative, you have to understand, you have to understand the power of the Lord and His majesty, how He deals with His devotees, how He reveals Himself through His devotees. For you to understand what is a real incarnation, what is a real representative, what is a real representative, you have to understand, you have to understand the power of the Lord and His majesty, how He deals with His devotees, how He reveals Himself through His devotees. For you to understand what is a real incarnation, what is a real representative, you have to understand to serve the devotees of the Lord. And that way, we'll actually experience a freedom from misunderstanding, just like the Yamadutas, they had a misunderstanding. The Vishnudutas corrected them. And Prabhupada went on to say that actually the process of Krishna consciousness is so powerful that ultimately, if you worship a devotee, everything is there. And Lord Shiva said to Durga, Aradhanam sarvasham, Vishnu aradhanam parat, tatat taraptanat devi, tadiyamam samacharam. That actually the Vedas recommend worship of Lord, the demigods. That's recommended. But greater than the worship of the demigods is actually worshiping Lord Vishnu. But greater than worship of Lord Vishnu is to worship the devotees in relationship to Lord Vishnu. The Prabhupada was such a genius. Taught us the proper etiquette of how to worship the devotee of a Lord. And in this way, he trained us to present a proper methodology for the next 10,000 years of how to spread Krishna consciousness, how to understand what is a real devotee, what is a real incarnation, how to act in such a way to give pleasure to the Supreme and not act separately from the Supreme. But the problem being is that sometimes we have a mechanical understanding. For example, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Dhritarashtra was blind in many ways, physically and also spiritually. So he had this son Duryodhana. And they made an invitation to Lord Krishna, because this is before the battle of Kurukshetra, and they wanted Krishna on the side. So then they made a plan. Okay, we'll cook nice edibles and appease the Supreme Lord. You see, they can't understand Krishna, who he is, that he's an incarnation, that he is actually beyond all this material amelioration. He is beyond aham. He is beyond the sense of proprietorship. So nice palace, Duryodhana made a nice, such big feast, so much opulence there. But the Lord didn't pay attention. He simply went to the palace of Vidura, his devotee. Vidura was not expecting, what was it? He just gave him simple shock, some very simple substance, very, tasteless. But the Lord relished that so much because the devotion of his devotee. Lord Ramachandra is another example. The kings and the great sages in the forest performing so much tapasya and austerity. Aha! Because there's aham, because there's I and mine, I'm performing tapasya. Lord Ram will come and I will receive darshan. What did Lord Ramachandra do? He walked by all these so-called sages and he went to Sabari, and she was from a low caste woman. And she was rejected. Even because her guru accepted her, he was rejected in the Brahminical community. But she had love. Dadami buddhiyogam tam. She had loving relation, appreciation, intelligence from the Supreme. And she came, and Lord Ramachandra came. And what to get her Lord? So she got some bera, some fruit. And she was thinking, would we offer the best to the deity? So what's the best way to know if the fruit is good? She tasted it. I'm not recommending our cooks to taste the food. But this is to give an example in the Shastra of how someone can love the Supreme. And the Lord Ramachandra, by taking the remnants of his devotee, was experiencing great taste. Paramdasvanavarte. Actually, by experiencing a higher taste, we give up the lower taste. So in this way, we can actually see the process. how powerful it is, how it actually can awaken our spiritual consciousness. And in that way, ya idam paramam goyam, that process of sharing knowledge to the devotees of the Lord about the Lord, then there is that principle that I give protection and I will deliver that person. The process you and I are being allowed to participate in. So in this way, look at your position, the great fortune of your position. And I was saying, there's no other temple in the world, actually, that I've experienced. I may be proven wrong. But actually, when you have a senior man coming, all the devotees after Mangal Artik will pay their obeisances. I'm amazed. I haven't seen that. I have not. I might be wrong. I have not seen it in any other temple. Now, why is that consciousness imbibed with the devotees? Is it this bhakti leader? Now you pay your obeisances. You pay your respects. Otherwise, you get, whatever. No. This comes from above. This comes from a loving emotion and service to the Supreme. But how does that come about? Yagna sankirtane priya yajantihi samedasaha. By performing yagna, by performing sacrifice, then you are given access to this devotional mentality, sense of humility. This is you're very, very fortunate. And guard your position. Many persons may join a beautiful temple like this, and there may be so much material facility, but you kind of perceive that there's a family mood developing. So in time, as you follow the process, chanting the Nam and associating with the devotees in relationship to the Nam, then there's a bit of a taste, and then your previous notions go away, and all of a sudden you realize this is the pocket of a wave. In areas of the world, there are people called surfers. You've ever heard that word, surfer? Someone who rides a board on a wave. Anyways, the science of the surfing mentality. Prabhupada, when he saw the surfers, when he went to California, Prabhupada was like, 2 times he cried. Once, watching people playing golf. Everyone knows golf. Is it a big game in India? I know cricket is. Golf is big in India? Rich people. A rich waste of time. Prabhupada had tears when he saw people playing golf. He also, in Los Angeles, a walk when he saw surfers surfing the water. Tears came to his eyes. This is the sign of a Mahatma. This is a sign of a great sadhu, a great Shaktivesh personality empowered with the potencies of the Supreme, who was compassionate. Prabhupada designed a program to bring everyone back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki! But again, as I said, he designed a program where you can bring others back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki! So in that way, we can really study our great fortune. Prabhupada himself said that even if there was difficulty in the mission and you stopped everything, someone would get the book, start everything all over again. Of course, we're not looking at anything like that to happen. But this is the power of the process. You worship the devotee properly. You understand who is a Narada Dev. You understand what is the relationship of the Narada Dev with the small n in comparison to the Narada Dev with the big N. How is it that the devotees of the Lord are actually representatives of the Supreme? And in the eyes of Krishna, they control the Supreme. That's quite an esoteric reality. Bhagavan, one who possesses all opulences, becomes controlled by a finite jiva? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes, when the jiva goes back home, back to Godhead, Whether the jiva, the whole principle of the origin of the jiva, whether, originally in Goloka or presented in in terms of Brahman Shakti, these things, the Acharyas make different commentaries and they're all correct. That's the Krishna philosophy. They are all correct. So Prabhupada, he gave us an understanding that when, and this is confirmed by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when the jiva returns back home, back to Godhead, a unique reality happens, because material time, spiritual time. A moment of spiritual time can be unlimited years of material time. The fly's life compared to the human is very different. We can see that in this world. Time, it has its accordance to consciousness and a vehicle within that consciousness field. So in this way, we can understand that actually when the jiva returns back to Golok, the jiva, having doing some type of seva, with a momentary lapse of memory, has a bad dream, and many years in this material field. And you study. Some of you have fear of fire. Some of you have fear of height. Some of you have fear of cramped places. These are impressions. Fears that are impressions from how you left your body in your previous life. So anyways, how many impressions are there? Unlimited. So in this way, we can study that actually, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when the jiva returns, the Lord, in seeing his part and parcel return to him, will pass out in ecstasy. And the jiva passes out, and the Lord passes out, back and forth, to the point that only that particular jiva can massage the Lord's transcendental legs to awaken him, to give him solace. Now wait a minute, this is God. Part and parcel of Supreme, with a momentary lapse of memory, is transported towards an illusory field, probably said daydream, night dream, daydream reality. But it's only a momentary lapse. Then Krishna himself does an entire festival in glorification of that event. And he enjoys it. And the jiva. So this is God. This is the Supreme Lord, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. So then this particular nature, this particular empowerment comes through his different incarnations, through his different representatives in terms of becoming empowered in their distribution of transcendental knowledge. So in this way, we come to the principle of how we can understand, follow the process in such a way which is no kitchery involved. What do I mean by that? Like Parsharama, that we have Karna in relation to Parshuram. Parshuram, incarnation of the Supreme Lord, would not train a Kshatriya. He didn't have a great appreciation for Kshatriyas. So Karna, who according to his realization, had a Kshatriya birth, he lied to Parshuram, said he's simply Brahmin. And then you know the whole story, how Dansha was cursed because of his offense to a great sadhu. He took birth as a little worm, and then he went into Karna's thigh while Parshuram himself was lying, using Karna as a pillow. Blood came, and Karna tolerated that pain. Then Parshuram woke up and go, "Hey, what's all this? What's this blood? What's happened?" Only a Kshatriya can endure pain like this. You have cheated me. Then, okay. Karna admitted his deceit, his kitchery devotional service. And then he was cursed by Parshuram. Well, at the final stage, you will forget your mantras, and that's when Arjuna killed him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So we're not into a cheating process. Again, look at the brilliance of what Prabhupada has done. This book distribution is the best form of purification of devotional activity anywhere. You have to place yourself in the shoes of those you speak to make sense. Then you can present the book. You present the deity. They give a donation. And then you do follow-up. You invite them to come and visit the family setting. Now, everything stems from book distribution. Our management, those who may be not able to go out there physically, they have to imbibe that same science. Place yourselves into the shoes of the devotees that you are training. The bhakti leaders have to place themselves in the shoes. It's a scientific process. And what Prabhupada say, you distribute books for your whole life, and one day that hand that'll reach out to you will be blue. Haribol! Prabhupada emphasized that point even in the material field, New York City, streets of Delhi. You can actually get direct darshan of the Supreme Lord. That's possible. Well, to speak of you spend time in Braj, and according to the Shastras, one of three small children, one can be a form of Radha or Krishna. So Braj is very unique. And those devotees who are going to Mayapur, you're most fortunate because ultimately Mayapur, yes, Gupta Vrindavan, but the nature of Mayapur is ever increasing. And one will develop that appreciation to see Krishna in every field. In the field of distribution, what's distribution mean? Heart transformation. And when there's heart transformation, when you go to Mayapur, you will hear the Nam with your heart, not the head. You will develop a taste for distribution. And when you go to Braj, you will see beyond just the externals of Braj in terms of the mud and dirt and pigs that may be there. But you'll see, the word is beyond a veneer. Veneer means like a covering. There's a covering that's there. But the amazing thing that this vision, this realization can be given to you in any field, any activity, if you focus on this principle of distribution consciousness. Then you become part of making a spiritual history. Again, I said our goal is not to go back to Godhead. Our goal is to bring others with us. So again, that's like the pocket of the wave. At the center of the wave, the surfer is pushed forward in such a way. So this is our great positioning that you and you and you can experience this divine consciousness and honor the devotee of the Lord in the proper light, and also create facilities. Others can also come and honor the Supreme Lord in the various ways. So this becomes a very unique, shall I say, opportunity and relationship. Now it's interesting, in the 11th canto, it's 12th chapter, and it's text 1 and 2, there is a very nice description that by Uddhava, where he describes the process of spiritual realization. And he says that actually spiritual elevation is not based on tapasya. It is not based on austerity. It is not based in terms of how much money you have, material identification, but it is simply based on service to the devotees of the Lord. And what do these devotees do? They control the Supreme Lord. We see a living example. When Srila Prabhupada came, what he would do is this: there was a competition between Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. There was a competition. All he would do is glorify Krishna, glorify Krishna, glorify Krishna. And what did Prabhupada do? Glorify Prabhupada. He's my devotee. Glorify my devotee. Inconceivable reality of how the interdependent relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotee. Complete glorification. Even we see how when Srila Prabhupada went through so many material obstacles, whether it's a heart attack, difficulties in the preaching, 1 year in New York City, and no apparent external results. Prabhupada was preaching to the walls. But he had full faith in the mission. So in his prayer, Markandeya Prabhu, when he came to the harbor of New York, he made a wonderful prayer that simply, you have designated me as Bhaktivedanta. So you simply empower me, make me a puppet to dance as you like, if you like. So that is our position. Now, we should not see Prabhupada's example and place that on such a big pedestal, meaning, hey, I can do the same. Not on that level, but in love, I can also become part of that Sankirtan consciousness, that distribution consciousness. I can play one part in that overall goal. In Chicago, New York, Chicago airport, Prabhupada came to visit the devotees of the Lord, and Prabhupada, this one janitor was there, and he said, when I saw that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, the black man, I saw he was short. He was a short man, but he was tall. When I saw him, Prabhupada smiled at this janitor. Prabhupada, the connection, Antaryami, right in the heart, When I saw him, I paid what they call dandivats. Dandavats, I paid my dandivats. Now here's a simple janitor, most likely a meat eater, and he's never had any association, but he saw Prabhupada. The pure devotee will see right through his dependence. He will see their heart. So the pure devotee will understand everything the Lord allows him to understand, because he's a representative of Naradev, yes? He's a representative of the Supreme Lord. You think the Lord is going to bother the spiritual master with knowledge about, I have some foot problem, a sore throat, or my mind? Prabhupada, the bona fide spiritual master, is given intelligence, information directly from the Supreme Lord to simply take that jiva, collective jivas, back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki. That is the power of the process. But you and you and you and you can be like that. Similar. Because the jiva is similar in quality with the Supreme, but quantitatively different. So we can develop the quality of the Supreme through devotees like Prabhupada, or those who are serving Srila Prabhupada in that vision. In the modern times, in the presentation of Krishna consciousness, so much confusion can sometimes happen. We might want to even readjust or recalculate what the Acharya has presented, which has been very clear. So again, when we see someone making an adjustment, again, go back to my earlier formula of proprietorship, my earlier formula of aham, that when we find any agent who is trying to present knowledge which undermines the worship of the devotee as we see in parampara, then we very, very careful to avoid. That is called kusanga, unwanted association. But you have sadhu sangha, Laramantra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy, just of 11th of a second, and associating with devotees. This janitor in Chicago, after a moment's association with Prabhupada, he became a devotee. Just a moment, just Prabhupada smiled. A pure devotee can smile, can just by his presence change the consciousness. Prabhupada would use the example in our preaching work. In the kitchen, you may have many pots and pans that make sounds, yes? But the goal is the preparation, cooking for the deity. So there are many different utensils. So look around the room. I mean, some of you may be doctors and lawyers, some of you may have grown up, in simple environments. But materially speaking, you wouldn't really be having much to do with each other if it weren't for the center of Krishna consciousness, the process of giving Krishna, distributing Krishna. That has brought you all together, and that is Prabhupada's genius to utilize all these instruments, like the example of the cord, and the string. You put the cord, what do you call that piece of wrap? Gourd, excuse me, thank you. The gourd, and you take the string, and then you tie them together, and you have very beautiful sound. So look at each one of you in this room. Some of you are managers. Some of you are book distributors. Of course, they're all book distributors. Others are distributing, speaking. Others are caring for the guests. Others are security guards. But it's all a team. And in the combination of that team is that people appreciate. I was in the FRO yesterday, and everywhere knows the FRO can be very heavy, very strict. So I went to one desk, and I was, wanted to present an application. And one lady sitting there, one of the main FRO officers, she was like the head of the FRO, and she said, "Oh, you are from Radha Party Sarti Mandir. Oh, Thakurji Sundar, Thakurji Sundar." I go, yes, Thakurji Sundar. I go, yes, of course. That's my own realization, but wow. So they have such appreciation in that way. And obviously she's been here. She's been greeted by devotees. Maybe she has a book. I mean, we have no understanding how powerful this process is and how people are becoming so attracted. In New Zealand, one devotee got a Science of Self-Realization. And you may know the English version. This is a paperback edition. Paperback, about this thick. And this guy was a weightlifter, big, strong guy. And he had a demoniac mentality. These Hare Krishnas wearing the funny clothes. This is the West, okay? Sorry, He was given a Science of Self-Realization. And because you can rip these phone books, big guys, boom, rip the road, yes. Expresses power. He took the Science of Self-Realization and he couldn't rip it. Haribol! Good addition from the BBT, that one. He just couldn't rip it. So what did he do? How is it I can't rip this book? Then, I might as well read it. He read it, became a devotee. Haribol! Of course, you all know infinite stories of the mystic realities of distribution of transcendental knowledge. But take hold of that. Take hold of that relationship. And then you will experience a wonderful history beyond your wildest imagination. You will see why the demigods desire to take birth in the age of Kali Yuga. Because Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, whether it is meditation, whether it is deity worship, whether it is great sacrifices, in the present day of age of Kali Yuga, the Harinam Sankirtan, that is the yagna, that is the ticket back home, back to Godhead. So you are becoming part of that history, and in this way, relish that. Make insurance policies. So take advantage of your association, serve each other, and you'll see a wonderful, wonderful history develop. But don't become mechanical, wooden-headed, and take things for granted. Then you begin to think in terms of, well, what about what about me? I'll. Devotee never sees like this. Devotee sees in terms of we. So Prabhupada did not for a moment not experience it wasn't a moment he wasn't without his Guru Maharaj. And he acknowledged that actually everyone, all of you have been sent to me by my Guru Maharaj. He wasn't thinking of my disciple like this. But Prabhupada thought in terms of we. That is an acharya. That is the perfection of Narada Dev. God in human form, meaning one who is a representative, taking that position of representing God in human form. So Prabhupada was empowered. And you can also become small gods, what I mean, small servants of the Lord. Remember my earlier thing, to keep me clear here. Qualitatively, we have similarity. But quantitatively, in comparison to Krishna's true Bhagavan Swayam, we are very small. But in your service, in submissive, simple service of chanting the Nam, distributing the Nam, you can actually purchase the Lord where one devotee can control the Lord. That is not the goal, but I'm speaking about the power of the process. We want to give pleasure. So yes, why not want to control Krishna? What am I saying by this? To become empowered instruments. Please, my Lord, please empower me to distribute your glories to others. Then, this is the perfection of love. As I said, Prabhupada, Lord Krishna glorified Prabhupada, and Prabhupada glorified Lord Krishna. Prabhupada wanted to become a servant only, and that is our position. Don't underestimate the power of devotion, and then you will, in this present body, realize what is an acharya, what is a true incarnation of the Supreme, who possesses the Shaktivesh potencies. Your future is so wonderful. Just take advantage, and then all these things will come to you naturally. So I will stop there. Anybody have any questions or comments with regard to this shloka? Yeah.
And you're using the term Nardev,
Yeah.
big and small end. And we also chant Nar Narayan Rishi. We have Nar Narayan Rishi. Generally, Nar Narayan Rishi is Krishna and Arjuna.
Sure.
The word is also translated as the supermost human being. So can we correlate that Nar Narayan Rishi as the supermost human being within the arena, such as Srila Prabhupada?
There's the Lord has different empowered representatives. And we understand Srila Prabhupada as a Shaktivesh avatar, one who is empowered with the potencies of spiritual culture. Then we go further to see personalities like Narada Muni, who's a Parshada, eternal associate of the Lord, who's also considered on that level. But still, there's that jiva aspect. Still, there is like that principle that that's shall I say, the Lord in a form with less power, less potencies. Like we see between the example between Krishna and the different Vishnu incarnations, there's different degrees of potency, there's different aspects. So when we look at, for example, Narayan Rishi, and we look at those different aspects, they have a different degree of spiritual empowerment in that sense. Krishna's Tu Bhagavan Swayam, the original Supreme, the candle that can light the other candles, in terms of all the different Vishnu expansions. And then we have the empowered Arjuna, a combination. Arjuna is a jiva. But in that way, there's different degrees. In other words, if we go further down the line, well, we're all expansions of Krishna, part and parcel. We're all part and parcel of different various degrees. And as a devotee of the Lord becomes empowered in that capacity. So there's different gradations. And we offer our devotion according to that position. Parshuram, we think also incarnation of the Lord, but his power and potencies, cannot compare that to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Krishna. Because that is how I say it, a form of the Lord coming in the material world for various purposes. Like Krishna, he doesn't waste time in the killing arts. He designates that to his various other aspects. As the saying goes, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. But his other aspects, he will extend himself in various ways. So in that way, it's a matter of seeing things in terms of gradation. And as far as looking at Srila Prabhupada as the empowered Shakti, like an expansion, Shaktivesh, avatar, he is empowered in that feature. And in that way, we honor that. In some other paths, what happens, confusion develops when they take the jiva, guru, and they begin to worship that and as Krishna, Krishna's Tu Bhagavan Swayam. Then you get troubles there. So that's what we have to understand, is to honor great respects for the incarnations according to their positioning, and the jiva/incarnations according to their positioning. But if we go, like if we were to not honor the empowered jiva, and we begin to mishonor him in terms of actually direct incarnation, then we get ourselves in trouble. And we see in other examples when we give respect to a personality which goes beyond their level, difficulty develop. So it's a matter of gradations. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.